What's going on, everyone? This is Vince with VShred.com, and in today's video we're going to be talking about tricep extensions, but I'm going to be showing you probably the 4 worst tricep extension mistakes that I see made pretty much on a daily basis. I'ma keep on going up till the lights go down. All right, like I said, in today's video we're going to be talking about the tricep extension, one of the best exercises for building up your triceps. Obviously, if you're trying to get bigger arms, you got to be doing some sort of tricep extension, if not multiple variations of tricep extensions. But an issue with tricep extensions is, just like any other exercise, a lot of times you see the form done wrong, whether that be because people are just throwing around too much weight, which is one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, or they just don't really know what they're doing, and they're just going to the gym and they just see people doing it, and so they just kind of freeform it. I'm going to be showing you some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen when it comes to tricep extensions, and when you fix them, hopefully it leads you to get bigger arms. But before we get into that, I do want to say, if you are trying to get in shape, what you're doing in the gym and the food that you're eating and how much food you're eating has to be based on what your specific goals are. You have to know where you're starting and the plan to get where you want to be, and it has to be very specific. You can't just follow some one-size-fits-all diet that your friends started following and it worked for them, because odds are it's not going to work for you. You have to know what your body type is and then create your plan from there. And if you don't know what your body type is, we do have a free body type quiz that tells you what your body type is and exactly what to do in the gym and in the kitchen to get the fastest results and in a sustainable way. We're not talking about doing a ton of cardio or starving yourself or anything like that. So if you want to check out that quiz, I'll throw a link to it down in the description below this video. Highly recommend it. But getting into today's video, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the 4 worst mistakes that I see made with a tricep extension. And so tricep extension, obviously, it can be with so many different handles. You can do it with the rope, you can do it with the easy bar, you can do it with a straight bar, you can do it with a little curved bar. There's so many different ways to do tricep extensions, all target your triceps a little bit differently, because obviously triceps are called triceps because there are 3 different heads of the tricep. So making sure that your form is perfect is huge so that you can actually get your triceps to grow. So, when you see tricep extensions done, first and foremost, I think the biggest issue is people simply going too heavy. And this probably goes for really any exercise out there. I mean, you see this at the gym all the time, especially when it comes to like arms. People think that like the more weight they're throwing around with some bicep curls or some tricep extensions, the bigger their arms are going to get. But in my experience, at least, when I go lighter and more controlled with my form, that's what causes my muscles to grow more, especially smaller muscle groups. Smaller muscle groups definitely need that time under tension. They need that isolation. And so that comes from strict form. And so when you see people stepping up to a tricep extension machine, and I got 120 pounds on here right now, which would be way too heavy if I'm going for higher rep ranges, which is what I usually do with smaller muscle groups. You see them get into the extension machine, they go like this. And so the issue here is obviously all this momentum that I'm creating. And so I'm starting all the way up here, and I'm basically using my body to throw this down, and therefore I'm not really getting that much tricep engagement, versus if I were to cut this weight, let's say in half, go to 60 pounds, now I can step up to this, I can get into a nice strong position, I can do a tricep extension, squeezing it all the way down, squeeze, get that peak contraction, lower it back up slowly, go right back into the next rep, squeeze, and I guarantee if you, let's say, cut your weight in half and focus on every single rep being, let's say, 1-2 seconds on the way down, 1-2 seconds on the way up, and you do that for every single rep, by the end of the set, your triceps are going to be burning. By the end of the workout, you're going to have an insane pump. The next day, your triceps are going to be sore as hell, and you're going to end up getting better results. So that's mistake number 1. Now, one thing that also happens when you go too heavy, and this is mistake number 2, is simply going too high with the weight. And what I mean by that, I'm going to make this a little heavier again so I can make it a little more realistic. When people are getting under the tricep extension, they're starting basically up here. And so they're pressing this weight down, and then when they come back up, they're going to there. And then they're pressing it down. Even if they're not using momentum to get the weight down, it's still too high, because what's happening right here? Well, right here, I'm losing tension on the muscle. What did I say is probably the most important thing when it comes to building smaller muscle groups? It's constant tension of the muscle. Time under tension. one of the most important things when it comes to hypertrophy. And so if you're going too high, right here, I'm losing tension. I could basically, this right here is basically just testing my grip strength. If I can hold this with my grip strength and my grip doesn't give out, I can hold this forever. This is not putting tension on my tricep versus starting in the correct position, which would be probably just past 90 degrees. Now my triceps are being activated. I could not hold this for, I don't know, maybe longer than 30 seconds, especially when it's on 120 pounds. But right here, this would be your starting position. You'd press it down, squeeze, and then come back up to that starting position, which would be right there, not there, and relaxing your tricep. So start there, squeeze it down, bring it back up to that starting position, not going too high, press it down again. So that's mistake number 2. Make sure that you're not going so high to the point where you're basically doing a cheated rest every single rep. Because if you do a cheated rest every single rep, now that set that you're doing has been cut into like 12 little mini sets because you're doing these little pauses. So now number 3 is going to be something on the, let's say, the opposite end of the rep. So we talked about how going too high is causing you to basically do a little cheated rest up here at the top, but then it's kind of the same mindset or the same thought process at the bottom of the rep. And so what I mean is going down to the bottom and then just locking your elbows. Right here, again, this is working my triceps a little bit. I'm not going to say it's not working my triceps, but I'm basically just locking out my elbows, and I'm going to be able to hold this a lot longer than if I were to actually squeeze my triceps. Big difference between this and that. And so the difference is simply, if let's say you were like laying down on the bench and you just had your arms locked out. You can keep your arms locked out, and it's basically just how long can you keep your arms locked out versus squeezing your triceps and focusing on that mind-muscle connection with every single rep. So instead of going down and locking out your elbow and cheating and resting, you go down, you squeeze, and you go right back into the next one. Go down, squeeze, go right back into the next one. Big difference between that and that. So don't do this, do that. And so it's a very small difference. It's probably hard to see, but it's all about what's going on in your mind and that mind-muscle connection that you have. So if you can create that mind-muscle connection to squeeze your tricep to the bottom rather than just lock your elbows out, it's going to make a huge difference. Now, the 4th and final mistake, and this is probably the one that I see the most because this one happens with pretty much everything I just talked about. Whether you're going too heavy, whether you're bringing it up too high, because you could also be bringing it up too high because it's too heavy, or locking out your, maybe not locking out your elbows, but the last one that I'm talking about is flaring your elbows. And this is probably hurting your tricep gains more than anything, because the best way to build your triceps is to A, lock your elbows into place next to your body. If you don't have your elbows locked into place next to your body, what's going to happen is you're going to load up on weight and you're going to start doing something like that. And when you do something like that, well, first off, you're going to end up messing up your elbow, getting some sort of like tennis elbow or something like that. But you're also just not going to be getting the contraction that you could be getting if you were keeping your elbows locked in. So instead of, I'll kind of face you a little bit, instead of going down and pressing it down like that, that looks like crap. Don't do this. Instead, lock your elbows in, keep them locked in, and press down. So it's the difference between out here, where I'm getting, yes, tricep engagement, but I'm also feeling it a lot in my elbows, and it just kind of feels awkward. But it also allows you to go a lot heavier when you probably shouldn't be going heavier. So drop that weight a little bit, tuck your elbows into your side, and then squeeze down, and that's when you get that contraction that you need to build muscle. So those are the 4 mistakes. Make sure that you are not doing any of these at the gym, especially if you're trying to get bigger arms, if it's tricep day coming up. Save this video, make sure you're coming back or writing down these tips or telling them to a buddy of yours, your workout buddy, to avoid doing these, because over the years, I have been able to build my arms a lot bigger than they used to be, and my triceps are probably one of my best features now, and it's because every single time I hit triceps, I'm making sure to never do any of these mistakes. And so if you do the same thing, I have no doubts that you can build your triceps as well. But That's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you are liking the video, also subscribing to the channel if you're not yet a part of the VShred fam here on YouTube, and commenting down below what your thoughts are and any videos you guys want me to make in the future. But that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.